This is attorney Andy Marcantel and attorney Rachel Moss. We are attorneys at the Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm, coming straight from the heart of Dallas, Texas, from the NRA convention. We got a very special guest with us on the podcast right now. I'd like to introduce our viewers to Austin Killmer of Core Dynamics. How you doing, Austin?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing fantastic so far.
Great. Welcome to the podcast. So first of all, tell our viewers, what is Core Dynamics? What do you do there?
Core Dynamics is a firearms training company. It is based out of Chandler, Arizona, but we cover the...
Local Chandler, that's right.
Chandler.
That's where our law firm is.
Yeah, we cover most of the East Valley as well. We do mobile classes. That's not really like a regular thing, so. But yeah, based out of Chandler, we do CCW training, live fire training, force-on-force training, medical training, rifle training. Any kind of training you want, we can probably provide it for you.
What's your title over there? You're an instructor? You're a trainer?
Instructor.
Okay, fantastic.
Instructor,
yeah, and I know that I missed this, unfortunately, because I was out of town, but Rachel and many other members of our firm were there when Austin hosted a training, right?
Well, I have to tell you, Andy, you missed out.
I know. I heard all about it.
It was so great. We took an intro to pistol class, and it was really great because I started shooting firearms at a young age, but I mainly shot rifles, and I had a lot of experience with rifles, but didn't really start shooting pistols until I was much older. And so this intro to pistol class was so helpful for me. It was a great refresher, and I even learned some new things. And Austin was a great instructor. Austin doesn't have to tell everyone how bad I did, how bad my groupings were. They'll get better.
We're not focused on the performance. We're focused on the progression.
Yeah,
that's our saying.
Yeah.
And I love that. How did you get into teaching firearm safety and training?
We have to go back a little bit. Back in 2016, I went through Pima Community College's EMT program. When I went through that, I ended up coming back as a EMT tutor. That was my first exposure to teaching. I like to say it runs in my blood because like all of my family on my mom's side are teachers. A lot of family on my dad's side are teachers. I don't know if that's...
My dad's a teacher too. He was a high school teacher. Yeah.
Okay,
what did your parents teach?
My parents didn't teach, but
okay.
My grandparents taught both of them. My uncle teaches on that side. There's teachers all over the place. I don't know if it's in my blood, but I ended up really liking it. Back in 2015, I took my first class with tactical response. I took their fighting pistol and their fighting rifle when I was 18 years old. It's a funny story. My grandparents gave me $1,000 as a graduation gift. I used that to buy my first rifle, my first AR, and then I saved up a bunch of ammo, borrowed my dad's pistol, went and took both those classes when I was 18. So I know this doesn't look like 10 years of experience, but I mean, for those of you just listening, I not only sound like I'm 21 years old, I also look like I'm 21 years old, and I'm not much older than that. So as far as Core Dynamics, me and Chris met through training. It was another tactical response course. He came through, he handed out a bunch of business cards. I ended up taking, what was it? It was a precision rifle class I took with him. I liked how he taught, I liked what he taught. I took more of his classes. Eventually I was like, hey, you hiring? Can I get a job?
That's awesome. So you start out as a customer, basically.
Yeah, pretty much as a customer. You know, if you're a tactical response alumni or if you've taken any of these classes, you know that network that they've built. We kind of bonded through that. And started taking some of his classes. He started training me doing CCWs. It took for about a year up until now. And just recently I've become a full-on instructor, not just an assistant instructor.
So how many people do you instruct? Like, what are class sizes like?
I think our minimum is like 4, but I've taught 35 people one time at a CCW class. It was in the back.
By yourself or like with other instructors?
Me and Chris.
Yeah.
Mostly me.
Wow. That just seems like a lot of people to keep track of.
It was a lot of people. The big thing is fingerprinting because we include fingerprints with our CCW classes, so we had to have like 3 people come out and just crank them out, just fingerprint people, just get them through as fast as possible. But the teaching's pretty much the same. You just got to talk louder because it's a bigger room.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the job?
I mean, I hate to say teaching, but like that's like teachers will call it the light bulb moment.
When they have that rebel. Yeah.
Like someone will be struggling with something and then you explain it in a certain way and they go, oh, okay, now I get it. Like that makes it all worth it.
Makes it all worth it. Love that. Rachel, what did you learn from the class with Austin?
Oh, where to begin? I think it was really just the benefit of having an instructor there with me to call me out on things I wasn't noticing about like my grip, for example. Like I didn't realize my grip was a little too low on the gun. I was advised to raise my grip, and what do you know? All of a sudden I'm I'm making the shot.
Nice.
You know, just having someone observing you, calling you out for things that, you know, you didn't notice yourself, it's so valuable, which is why I always encourage people to get training. And there's no shame in saying you need training, you need assistance. And I feel like once you get into a class, you just want to take more and more. It's a lot of fun.
Ask me what that's like. I want to keep training all the time.
Yeah.
Like me and Chris has thousands of hours of training. Not to toot my own horn, I only have hundreds at this point, but I'm always training. Always.
Yeah, that's
like,
fantastic.
I'm looking to get into red dot pistol, so I'm taking a red dot pistol class this year.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's all I have planned. I'm probably going to take more. But
yeah, about that actually. I was thinking about that. Do you think it's better to train starting with red dot or not? Because I've heard some debate among this between...
Yeah, there's a lot of debate on the internet. You want to talk about pistols or rifles? Because they're completely the opposite.
Let's start with pistols.
Pistols, we recommend starting with irons, just because the learning curve on a dot on a pistol is so steep. It's a much steeper learning curve. You're gonna end up having a harder time trying to learn the fundamentals, like Rachel was saying, my grip, my stance, the trigger press, all that. Plus, you want to throw in a red dot. I equate it to a manual transmission on a car.
Okay. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, the same car with the same engine, you can drive it faster with a manual transmission. If you know what you're doing.
The learning curve is high.
Yeah. If you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you end up slowing you down.
Yeah.
You know, grind until you find them kind of thing.
For sure. How's it vary with rifles, though?
Rifles, it's the complete opposite, because most of the disadvantage with a red dot comes with the presentation. If you don't have a proper presentation, you'll end up searching for the dot, will end up slowing you down. Versus irons, you know, you can, if you begin your draw down here, you can see your iron sight a lot sooner than your dot. There are ways around it, but like I said, it comes to practice and training. Take a training class, get practice with it. You will get better. A lot of people get faster with the red dot eventually, but like I said, it's the learning curve. Rifle is the complete opposite, because there is no presentation really. You kind of just bring it up to your eye. You don't have to line up those iron sights on the rifle, so it actually ends up becoming easier. So a beginner on a rifle, we recommend starting with a red dot. On a pistol, complete opposite. Start with irons and then work for the red dot, because and pistols are much more difficult to shoot than rifles. I think you alluded to it earlier. We get it all the time. I can shoot a rifle, no problem. But a pistol, you know, I'm yanking it low left, you know, all that. So if we can build that foundation, now we just have to add this one other thing. Yeah. Going back to the car analogy, you know, you know all the rules of the road. Now you just got to learn how to work the stick shift. It's not so much sensory overload in a sense. Yeah. I also grew up shooting rifles and didn't start shooting pistols or get any training in pistols till I was an adult, and I was blown away. I had the same kind of attitude. It's like, I know how to shoot a gun. No, I don't. You know, and you have to kind of start from scratch in terms of technique and form. But good training is worth its weight in gold, and I can tell you that our number one call that we get in terms of gun-related crimes doesn't have to do with self-defense, doesn't have to do with defending oneself, it's not aggravated assault, it's not homicide, it's negligent discharge of a firearm. We get this call, Rachel, am I right? We get this call all the time.
Taking those calls.
Oh my God! I was cleaning my gun. I never thought this would happen. It fired. It went through the roof. It went into the neighbor's yard. Like, I'm scared. You know, blah blah blah. What do I do? I mean, what do you do as an instructor to try to minimize this problem in your students?
Rule number 3: keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. It's that simple. Yeah. In my experience, when people claim that they were cleaning it, that's usually just a lie. They were usually just messing around with it and they didn't realize it was loaded.
Yeah, rarely does a gun, in my experience, and just dealing with gun forensic experts and everything. I've explored, you know, when I'm advocating for a client, I want to explore whatever defenses I can, and just dealing with gun forensic experts. Guns rarely just, if ever, go off. Right?
Yeah, unless you own a SIG.
Right.
I don't know if SIG's a sponsor, but I mean, I'm not talking trash. It's documented.
No, they're not.
SIG 320s,
yeah. Speak the truth about them. So they go off on their own.
Yeah. They've gone off when dropped. They've gone off in holsters. They've gone off.
It's a legal defense for our arsenal, I guess. But what do you think about dry firing?
Just like pressing the trigger with no ammo in it. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's value to it. Again, I can go back and forth on the benefits versus the cons of it. As long as you're doing dry practice. For me, dry practice, the more important aspects are things like reloads, draws, malfunctions, things like that. When you're doing malfunctions, you can incorporate your trigger press into that. You get a click, click and no bang, do the thing. You can incorporate it into that. The thing I don't like about dry firing is when guys do the thing, they go click and then they do that weird thing with their hand, or they get it over the front and like just cock it far back enough to reset the you're building a training scar for several reasons. She learned, ejection port down when you're clearing malfunctions. When you do that, you're doing everything wrong. You're getting this really crappy grip on the gun, so you're not going to be able to run the slide. You're putting your hand over there's a million different reasons why that's not a good idea.
Yeah. See, this is why it's important to get like actual in-person training, not just trying to watch YouTube videos and not just trying to self-educate. And like you said, Rachel, there's no stigma around it. There's no shame. We want people to be competent, responsible gun owners. So yeah, I think the service you provide is worth its weight in gold. Did you mention that there was like an EMT aspect to your training, or like some kind of medical side to it?
Yeah, I was an EMT in a past life. I was a volunteer firefighter as well. Turns out I don't really like sitting around for too long. I can't sit still for too long. That's why when she saw me instruct, I was walking around all over the place, and So,
well, real quick on firefighting, because it's like commonly like thought of as like a really exciting, sexy job, But yeah, from firefighters that I've talked to, it's like 95% or more of it is sitting around waiting for something to happen.
I mean, it all depends. I mean, like if you go to downtown Dallas, that might be like, oh, it's a slow day. We only had 5 calls today. Versus like,
depends on where you're at.
You go way out in the country, it's like, oh man, we were busy this month. We had 3.
Yeah.
It's all subjective. But I was way out in the rural part, and we were running like 3 calls a month. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Wasn't for me.
So in Core Dynamics, what do you use from that EMT background and medical side of it in your training?
Well, we really harp on medical training and carrying medical gear, because if you only carry a gun, you're only solving half of the issue, half of the problem. If you get hit in a gunfight, you need to be able to treat that, and you'll get guys on the internet like, oh, I'll shoot fast enough, I'll never get hit. Okay, how about your wife standing next to you? How about your kids? How about all the innocent people that you're carrying this gun to save? Okay, you're gonna shoot the bad guy, but like now what? Now everyone's gonna bleed out and die. You're only solving half the problem. So we're really big on medical. I always carry medical on me. Like,
what kind of medical gear? Yeah, let's take a look at it. Yeah. Let's look at your kit.
Right now I got a tourniquet on me. I left my ankle kit this morning. I didn't have time, but normally I have an ankle kit with gauze, shears, decompression needle, all kinds of stuff. I never leave home without it.
Fantastic. Yeah, see, that's not something that people would normally associate with training, the medical side of it, right?
Yeah, you need to be able to, if you're going to be able to make holes, you should be able to plug holes as well.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's a great philosophy. It's fantastic. So you actually teach that side? Do you teach like how to tourniquet a wound and everything like that? And that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Did you get
we didn't do it, but we're actually planning on setting something up, I think, for them to come in office and do some medical training with us. And I think that's going to be great.
It's fantastic. Yeah, we love, for our staff, we love walking the walk that we talk, right? We love making sure that our staff are competent, trained, responsible firearms owners. And this sounds like a great idea. Come in and teach like different courses to the firm in the conference room. I mean, we don't have to come to you every time. We'd love to host you and teach the whole class.
Yeah, we teach our immediate bleeding control class. We make it as affordable as possible. It's 2 hours, $30, because we want people to have this training. We want people to have this stuff with them. I mean, you can come and buy tourniquets from us if we have it in stock. So that's why we make it so affordable. We have a more advanced level coming up that's a little bit longer. I think it's about half a day, maybe 6 hours we're working on. But we'll come to your office. We'll come do it. We want you guys to have this training. And like
you and Chris should definitely come and teach a whole course, man. That'd be amazing.
We've already taught a course at the range. Let's teach a course in the air conditioning, especially with summer coming up.
I guess we've done the first half. We need that back half now with the medical.
And like I was talking to you before, like you getting this training is so valuable. Like there are so many people, especially on Instagram. I mean, not to call it, but they're just making stuff for gun owners, like all these doobers that like, I don't want to name names because you know how civil suits are.
You can name names. You can have an opinion on stuff if you want.
You know what I'm talking about? Like people are just making stuff. It's like if you took 5 seconds of training, you would realize this is a stupid idea. This thing that you're making. You're not. It's like this guy. He's not an instructor. He's not a cop. He's not in the military. He's just making stuff because he's a gun owner. So like the same thing goes for services. Like you all coming out to a class and learning these things, like, and what we are teaching the people that you might be covering in the future. Hopefully not, but like learning this stuff, like the gear I carry, the classes I take, it's because these people, they train with it, they use it. Like they know what makes it good and what makes it not.
Yeah, I want to flesh out something that you just said that I think is pretty self-evident from the fact that we're in the middle of this NRA conference. You know, you guys can only see this camera angles right now in our little studio that we have here, but I'm sure you'll see some B-roll showing that the Second Amendment crowd is a huge, thriving market for people who are making different products, right?
Yeah.
And as you point out, like people might hone in on the fact, oh, there's a lot of money to be made from these people. And so maybe not every product, you know, that's put out. I mean, you want to talk more about that in terms of, do you think the market is oversaturated to this particular?
I'll tell you this, the money in firearms is not instruction. It is not instruction, it is sales. Like, we know what gun shops that we're affiliated with make, and that's where the money is. So yes, I mean, we teach in our CCW, and it was developed by my good friend James Yeager, the survival principles. Number one is mindset. And then it goes tactics, skill, and gear. So gear is at the bottom of the tier list. It's the least important of those. It is important. Don't get me wrong. Good gear is important. But those three things are more important.
That's awesome. No, I love framing it like that. This is what we try to instill in our clients all the time. It's like, okay, at the end of the day, what's going on between your ears and your ability to control how you're thinking and reacting in real time to an urgent situation is so much more important than the hardware.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is important. Get good quality gear, but your mindset is your number one survival.
And that reminds me of something that kind of what I felt distinguished your training from other training I've done, is that you were actually training us to be in that self-defense situation, where I've gone to other trainings where they're training me to essentially be at the range. And it's fine to be at the range and to be practicing at the range, but it doesn't really help your mindset for that situation if you're preparing just to shoot at the range.
It's an excellent point.
Yep, we teach gun fighting. We don't teach shooting. We're not going to teach you how to shoot a plate rack really fast or anything like that. We're going to teach you how to survive a fight. The class you took is called Introduction to Carrying a Pistol. Now, I'm not talking trash because this is true. There are schools that will charge you for 3, 5, 8, 10 classes before they even have you draw out of the holster because they want your money. They don't care. Here at Core Dynamics, we don't know what your situation is. We don't know if you're a victim of stalking, of harassment, death threats. We've had students come to us with bandages still on from the hospital.
Wow.
We had a lady that she was beaten with a pipe and left for dead. She came to us with the bandages still on. Her face is still swollen, coming to us for training. We don't know what your situation is. So in our most fundamental class, we have you drawing from the holster. For that reason, we are teaching you how to fight with a gun. We instill that in your mindset. She experienced it.
Yeah.
I won't spoil anything, but
Damn, I did miss out on this training. Yeah, and
great.
that's something that, because I've received some training at some ranges too, and Rachel's point is fantastic, which is they're teaching you how to shoot at the gun range, right? And that practical, I mean, and granted, people can shoot for different reasons. Some people like target practice, some people like skeet shooting, some people like hunting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no problem however, but if your purpose is to know how to defend yourself, you need that actual practical real-world instruction.
That's why that is structured the way that it is. Skills are important. Being able to shoot really fast is a good skill to have. What's more important is your mindset. Why am I learning to shoot so fast? So I can stop the bad guy that's trying to kill me or my family or some innocent people.
Yeah.
It always goes back to the mindset. The mindset is the number one.
Super important lesson here, which is to begin with the end in mind when you pick up a firearm. Why am I getting into firearms? Why am I training with a firearm?
Yeah.
You know, and you could have multiple goals there, but beginning with the end in mind really can not only help you get there faster, but save a shitload of money too.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not blowing it on stuff that isn't relevant to what your goals are.
Yeah, training's not cheap.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, ours is inexpensive. We try, like I said, we don't know why you're coming to us for training. We try to keep it as affordable as possible because we want you to know this. That is more important than Chris and I getting rich.
Yeah, since you're here, I do want to pick your brain on something. I love just the kind of the controversial issues in the Second Amendment community. And one recently I've been talking about is there was this decision in Ohio by the Ohio Supreme Court that warning shots can be considered self-defense. Previously, not so much. And as an attorney, I liked the decision because if I have a client that's involved, in a situation and they want to claim their warning shot was self-defense, it gives me that ammunition, if you will, going into their legal case. However, from a practical side, I've never been the biggest fan of warning shots because I think if you're at that point where you need to draw a gun, it's probably a situation where you need to exercise deadly physical force against someone. But from an instructor's perspective, is warning shots something you get questions about? Is it something that comes up in training?
We get it all the time. Warning shots, or I'll just shoot him in the leg, or I'll just do this. It goes back to the mindset. Here's why it's so important. A warning shot would scare people like us. People that are scared of getting shot. The people you are shooting a warning shot near are not scared of you. They're not scared of your gun. They're not scared of getting shot. These are typically hardened criminals that have had guns pointed at them before. Probably have had warning shots been shot at them before. Probably have been shot before. Probably have had, multiple cops screaming and yelling at them to trying to arrest him, pepper spraying him, tasing him. It goes back to that old trope of, I'll rack the shotgun and then they're going to run away.
Right.
Because it'll scare them. Yeah, it would scare you. It would scare people who are not high on drugs, or not hardened criminals, or don't have, serious psychiatric disorders. So it goes back to that. If pointing a gun isn't going to scare them, the warning shot isn't going to scare them. And then back to the practical standpoint, that bullet's got to go somewhere. Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it going near them? Where's that bullet going to go?
Yeah.
It's going to go somewhere, and you're responsible for every bullet that comes out of your gun.
Yeah. And obviously the law in Arizona right now is that they do not share this opinion of Ohio, that you can use warning shots as self-defense. I have had cases where warning shots were able to deter an assailant, but your point is a very good one, which is that's the minority of cases.
I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Right, absolutely. And I had a case once where my client was with his kid. He was with an 8-year-old kid, and there was basically a drug-addicted assailant that was running at him full speed, and he discharged 2 rounds into the ground about 5 feet away from him, which was enough to make the drug-addicted person change course and not come after him. Or maybe he was going to change course anyway or something like that, but there was at least an argument that discharging those rounds had stopped the assailant from coming. Well, the cops showed up because of the current state of law in Arizona, and that because they don't agree with Ohio about warning shots. Cop showed up and he said, this guy was yelling at me. He was yelling, I'm going to effing kill you. I'm going to effing kill you. He was running full speed, so I discharged. And so he went that way. And the cops were like, okay, turn around, sir. Put your hands behind your back. You discharged 2 in the city limits. And despite the fact, and I went to the prosecutor, I'm like, he was being attacked by a guy. And I forgot to mention, very important, the guy had a knife. The guy was running at him full speed with a knife, so deadly physical force. I said, prosecutor, it worked. Like, not only did he use it as in self-defense, but it worked. He saved him and his kid. Yeah, sorry, because he discharged in the city limit, we're charging him with negligence.
Yeah, well, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Because even if it is legal, the problems that I mentioned before, like where's that bullet going to go? And I mean, you two know better than I. Don't talk to the cops.
Oh my God!
Don't talk to the cops for these reasons. I mean, if he didn't say anything, you could have said, "Oh, he missed," so he wasn't firing a warning. He just missed.
Right.
You could have easily made that argument. Maybe he did miss, and he was saying warning shots as an excuse to not hurt his ego. I don't know. I'm not that guy.
Yeah, had my client, and I should mention too, my client actually is the person who called 911 in that situation because he thought he was the victim. Understandably and reasonably, in my view, he thought he was the victim who had just deterred a bad guy from attacking him and his child.
Yeah, of course.
The cops disagreed because of the way that the law is structured and police policy surrounding this issue.
Well, this is why quality training matters, because we go over this in our CCW. Like, don't talk to cops. You want to talk to cops because you perceive yourself as the good guy. He was attacking me with a knife. He was coming at my kid with a knife. So I shot the ground and he ran away. Like, I'm the good guy here. But like you said, law doesn't see it that way. Cops don't see it that way. Yeah,
this is a case where if he had called us first, I would have been strongly inclined to tell him, don't call the cops. I would have said, are there any witnesses? Are there any? The guy's gone. The threat's gone now. Looked like a drug addict. He's gone. I would very strongly lean on the side of telling him, don't call the cops on yourself, essentially. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, fantastic. I'm looking forward to when you show up and do some training for the firm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to let you do like a full plug of websites or social media, whatever you want to do. So please plug your business right now for our viewers.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
You can find us online at CoreDynamicsAZ.com. You can find us on Instagram, Core Dynamics Firearms Training. Like I said, we're located in Chandler. Find us on Google. We're finding a lot of people are just finding us on Google, so just Google Core Dynamics. You'll find us. Outside of that, I want to plug my guy, Isaac Demarest, for NRA board. He's running. I highly encourage you to get him on this on this
Isaac?
podcast.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Isaac Demmer. I think he's standing right there.
Yeah,
The ball guy.
yeah.
Okay.
Get him on here. He's a great dude. I met him through training as well. I took Tactical Responses Contractor class, which if you don't know what that is, it was designed after James Yeager and Jay Gibson came back from Iraq as Blackwater contractors, and they designed this class where if you want to go do that, you come take this class and you are ready to go do that thing. So like you're staying at the team room, you're all together. It's 5 days, day and night. You're sleeping in the same room together in bunk beds. It's a great class. I've taken 2 of them with him now. That's where I met him, and he's running for NRA board. I'll let you.
Yeah, maybe
I'll let
we'll
you ask
grab
about
him.
it.
Yeah.
He's
fraternizing with our staff over there.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll grab
I know you're
him.
Attorneys for Freedom. He's good libertarian values.
Hell yeah.
Stand-up dude. I endorse him.
I already
fully.
like him. Yeah, fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on the podcast,
Yeah, thank you for
my friend.
having me.
Also, shout out to Chris over there at Core Dynamics in Chandler. We love our local businesses there in
Wish
Arizona.
you could be here, Chris.
All right, everybody. This has been Attorney Andy Marcantel and Attorney Rachel Moss with the Attorneys for Freedom. Go and check out attorneysonretainer.us to learn all about our self-defense program and what it can do for you. Attorneysforfreedom.com to learn all about our law firm. If you like the video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and share with a friend. Until next time, this has been the Attorneys for Freedom and our good friend Austin Killmer. Signing out. Peace.